And good morning, good morning, good morning. It's another beautiful morning, and we are back for more of the 21-day devotional. It's a release journey, and we're on day 4. And why do we call it release? Well, let me just walk you through a little bit. We have a entity, a ministry, a service to women that we call the Women's Release Experience. And it's all about helping women let go of the things that no longer serve them, that have been holding them back, that hold them down so that they can walk into better decisions for better living. The scripture that we're founded on is be still and know that I am God. That's Psalm 46:10. And when you look into the scripture, the original Hebrew root of the word be still, that phrase right there doesn't actually mean be quiet, though we often translate it to mean be quiet. It actually means let go in translation. In other words, release it, let it go. Whatever it is for you, whatever it is for you, let it go and know that God is, and all things will work together for you. Now, the process for release is feeling. Now, this isn't, the end all be all. This is the process that was divinely gifted to me to share, right? There are other processes, but this is the one divinely gifted to me to share. We feel a thing, okay? And then after we feel it, we face it. So often we want to not face it. We want to feel it and then we might want to run from it, or we feel it and then we want to bury it, or we feel it and we want to deny it. But no, you have to face it so that you can understand why it's there. It's a valid feeling. It's there to show you something, to teach you something. So face it and then focus on it, because where focus goes, energy flows. And when energy is flowing, you get the best of understanding and digging into that self-excavation about why this might be popping up in your life at this moment, or why you might need to, press pause and do a little bit more soul searching in that area. After you do that, you have to trust. Trust is the surrender. Trust is the biggest part of letting go. The release is easy after you trust, because once you trust, you can turn it over easily and release it all so that you can get more understanding, become more of fullness of who you are, unburdened, unhindered by all the junk and the crap that used to drag you down. So with that understanding, we're into day 4. Yay! And as you saw, our topic for today is press pause. Just press that pause button. Y'all press that pause button. So now that we've got the setup, we're going to give you a bunch of inspirational yumminess. I have a very special guest that's going to be with me to do this devotional today. So before we go into this, I would love for you to share the yumminess you're getting every day. Share this post. If you don't share it on your page for whatever reasons, invite your friends. You can invite friends. Let's create this community. Yesterday, we got into some great conversations as everybody starts sharing their experiences and their questions. And man, the level of transparency was awesome too. We all learn and grow from each other. So let's create that womanly community. And hey, we had some brothers and pastors come through yesterday, and we thank them for their prayerful presence and for their insights that they shared too. So hello across all platforms. Periscope folks, I see you. All you have to do is comment. Your comments will go in the broadcast as well, and tap out those yummy hearts that you do. Facebook, YouTube, all of you, just so glad to have you with me every morning. All right, so let's go. I thought I'd do something funny today, and you all can tell me what you think about it. Good morning, Tamara. How are you? Michael, good to see you. Thank you for scribing as always. You're a good scribe, Michael. Laverne, good to see you back. Awesome to see you back. Monique, hola, mami. Hola. Sheri, hey, how are you? Man, long time. Great to see you. You're an educator. Thank you for your service. I think mommies everywhere appreciate you, appreciating and loving y'all more. So thank you. So let's get started. Oh, wow. Hey, brother. Savalas, what's happening? Good to see you. Good morning. So as we get ready to get into this, oh man, I can't start without saying hi to Miss Shirley. Miss Shirley, we are still praying for you. It's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, we're being safe and taking care. I hope that you're being safe and taking care too. So today's scripture for press pause comes out of Ecclesiastes. And I thought I would do something kind of funny and give you a little background on the book of Ecclesiastes with a little video. So let's do this.
Ecclesiastes. It's a painful, dark book trying to climb life's highest peaks and just survive life's lowest valleys. Ecclesiastes is about purpose, a quest that millions find themselves on today. What's my purpose? Why am I here? Why does life feel this way? It was written by the man who had everything, who did everything, who knew as much as a human could possibly know. One of the richest men in history, king of one of the great countries of his time, married to over 700 women. Well, that last one's not so good. Solomon. Born through adultery and murder, his own half-brother tried to kill his dad. Solomon knew God and was given more wisdom than any before or after. He wrote 3 of the books of wisdom, Proverbs, this, and Song of Solomon. Those other 2 represent 2 of his peaks. This one, Ecclesiastes, represents the bottom of the bottom, the gutter of the gutter. He was the wisest, richest, and most famous person of his time, like Jeff Bezos mixed with Kanye mixed with Einstein. But he found out that it's all kind of just empty. Ecclesiastes is what happens when you find out that all you pursued wasn't worth it, that life for life's sake is empty, that money for money's sake is empty, that it's all just empty.
All just empty. Can you relate? How many times have we all asked the question, what is this all about? What is really happening? Why is this happening to me? And I think what's interesting about this is I love Proverbs because it's full of poetry. As a writer, I appreciate it for its poetic nature and wisdom. And then Ecclesiastes kind of goes back and follows more of that kind of formatting. Even though it's a cyclically written kind of book, you pose these ideas at the beginning and then you kind of round back to them. But there's that short, sweet wisdom, great quotables. I find great quotables out of the, that's the fur baby, and she's protecting our land right now. So don't mind her. Don't mind her. But anyway, so that's where our scripture for today's topic comes out of. And I just want to share with you really quickly what I want to see if you get it. So it's Ecclesiastes 7 verse 9, but I want you to look at these varying translations. You can see all the translations to the left here, but let's see if we see a common theme. Okay, this one says, be hasty in thy spirit to be angry, be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. That's some good old King James. Let's try this. The Amplified says, don't be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger dwells in the heart of fools. Okay. Oh, I love this. I like the vex is a great word. Don't be quick in spirit to be angry or vexed. Vexed. It sounds just like it means, right? For anger and vexation lodge in the bosom of fools. All right. If you go down here to more, contemporary translations, don't be quick to get angry, for only fools nurse anger. So you start to see a theme. Here's Message Bible. I always like to check out what the Message Bible says. Don't be quick to fly off the handle. Anger boomerangs. Woo, there's a visual for you. You can spot a fool by the lumps on his head. I love that. It's saying you keep doing dumb stuff and that boomerang keeps flying back at you, the anger boomerang, and you keep getting lumps on your head. So, all right, from top to bottom, bottom to top, do y'all see this theme right here? Bam, bam, bam. Every translation shares what? If you can't get a hold on your anger, you're a fool. Hey, Sheri Smith Clayborn. Guess what that means, y'all? It's time for me to introduce you to my special guest for today. And I'm just tickled pink because it's my sister. Will you say hello to the lovely Reverend Sheri Smith Clayborn?
Good morning. So glad to be with you this morning.
Glad to have you with me this morning, especially since we were texting about stupid stuff on Facebook at 2 a.m.
this morning.
God's grace is awesome.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
here we are.
I'm awake and dressed.
And
This
dressed.
is a wonderful thing.
And we're about to get in the word, girl.
All
Hey,
right.
Nala, boo. Yes, Tamara, your niece is back there. Absolutely.
Hey, Sister Tamara.
And Laverne says hello too.
Hey, Laverne.
All right, so you all see it's all about anger and being able to control anger. Now, I know, I hear you. But what about that scripture that says, be angry, but sin not? Yes, but when you can't press pause, the likelihood of you sinning goes up exponentially.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Absolutely. When you don't know how to press pause, that tongue will get away from you. What you are thinking becomes what you say, as opposed to just letting some things remain thoughts.
And I know
out there, you can't take it back.
That's for sure. And I know there's a saying that I like to use. I know we use it sometimes too. That oh my gosh, hold on, maybe T will help bring it back.
Bring it back.
Oh, I got it. Thank you, T. Thank you, Green Tea. Every thought in your head doesn't have to come out of your mouth.
That's what our mothers taught us. Is that what your mother taught you too? They were working out the same book, but didn't know each other then.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, hello, Patrice. Hello. So, why was this a topic that? What about it resonated with you? Because you're going to share some of your insights and dialogue today. So what were your what did you start marinating in when you started thinking about the whole topic of pressing pause?
Well, just that there are so many things that happen in life just daily that require us to have self-control in such a way that we're able to press pause, even in situations where we didn't think we were going to need to press pause. So that can vary from, like we just said, if you're angry, knowing how to press pause so that your words don't get ahead of you and you say something that can burn a bridge. It could be as simple as knowing when you need to rest. I say as simple, but that's hard for a whole lot of people. And I think during this pandemic, what people are seeing is that they have not been resting. They've been going to sleep at night, but they have not learned the art of resting. And so it could be so many different things that in life we're called to press pause. Even God pressed pause. On the seventh day, God rested. And so who are we to think that we won't need to press pause? But that means we have to also understand that we're not the know-all, be-all, end-all. We don't have all the answers. Like you have to go into each day knowing that you can make mistakes, that you're flawed. You're still wonderful. You're still fabulous.
That's right.
Even as you're flawed.
That's right.
And so all of us, if we're not careful and not just careful, because you can also be too careful. But if you're not aware of where you are likely to need to push pause, you'll miss it.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. And I think especially as you kind of related to in this time, it's especially important that we learn how to press pause because we are dealing with things above and beyond we've ever could have imagined. And in a sense, the world had to press pause.
Absolutely.
The world had to press pause on going out. The world had to press pause on our comings and goings. The world had to press pause on how we show affection and connection to one another. There's so many ways that the world had to press pause. And in return, we have to have a corresponding mindset to be able to handle the pause, to understand what the pause means and what it doesn't mean, I think sometimes.
Absolutely.
Later in the devotional, we'll be talking about alone versus lonely. So, there's so many different things to get into. And I love that you're sharing this with me. The Ecclesiastes, he was talking about how it's a book kind of built around this theme of purpose. Solomon had everything. He was the wisest because God granted him wisdom. But he talks about vanities being vapor, breath, or emptiness. Solomon had all this stuff. Woo, 700 women. You better learn how to press pause. 700 women. You better learn how to press the pause.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready, but I'm gonna leave Solomon be. But he wasn't ready.
That's a whole nother devotional.
He wasn't ready. You're right. That's a whole nother book, a whole nother series.
Absolutely.
And it's called He Wasn't Ready.
But he was right. He wasn't ready. Everything, everything that glitters ain't gold, so to speak. But he did pose big questions. And so the wisdom comes out of this kind of place of understanding that even with all of the women that you could possibly want, with all the money that you could possibly want, with all the stuff that you could possibly have in your life that make you complete, there's still this desire to be in touch with the authentic things of life and understanding wisdom. This is really good. You have to corresponding mindset to handle pause. Absolutely. Absolutely, Savalas. And so, yeah, you going to take up 700? What? No, don't do that, brother. We urge against it. We urge against it. So let's dig into the devotional. And Sheri, you and I will Reverend Riri, we will just kind of go through this, and I'll stop at different points and get your insights. So I open up, and this is all coming from my release devotional. It's an action journal because you got to do some work. It's thick. Okay. All right. We got it. All right. So I say, my client, whom I'll call Tom, can be a hothead. He reacts more than he responds. He's sure that every feeling he has is a divinely attuned indication of how people, situations, and things are working against him or not working in his favor. He's always waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak. There are several reasons that Tom has become a bit guarded and fearful, but the lesson I want to focus on for this meditation is a strength that we all have to develop and how to push pause. Reverend Riri, what's your take on the strength to press pause? Because you alluded to it. It's not always easy. What is it about the strength necessary to press pause?
I think part of it is a lot of times people think that pushing pause is a weakness. So we're already starting at a deficit sometimes when people think about pressing pause, but really it's a strength. You have to be strong. It takes courage. It takes a certain kind of knowing yourself and being okay with who you are and who God has made you to be. Because when you push pause, you have to know that in most of our minds, it comes to mind that, what if this moment passes me by? What if I miss the moment? What if the what ifs come, right? And so you have to have enough courage in that moment that you're pressing pause to know that you're not pushing stop. You're just pushing pause. So it's a short stop so that you can gather yourself, think through the situation, set the situation over there and be somebody other than yourself in the situation and look at the situation fully to gain a new perspective about how you should move forward. And so it really is a strength that comes from within. And even that comes from doing some inner work.
Everything that requires effort is like a muscle that you've got to build.
Absolutely.
We like to think that it's supposed to be something that just kind of happens fluidly and we just should innately have this. And some people, I will say, have better strength in an area than another, than some of us. But most of the time, it's a muscle that you got to get in there and work it out.
Absolutely. You have to.
Yes, being responsive instead of reactive.
Absolutely.
And especially let's bring it back to, where we are right now. It can be so easy to be reactive because it's almost like we're having to relearn ourselves. I don't know Jeanette, a pandemic Jeanette. I don't know what pandemic Jeanette is like fully because I haven't been here. Don't know. It's new. There's a core of me that's the same. But there's some other things that I haven't responded to. I haven't, it's like the first time when a baby first comes around heat or something that would be harmful. The baby doesn't know that that's harmful or that will hurt or that is this or that. And so you have to be shaped and learned. It's the same thing. There's some things that we're coming around that I haven't experienced before, and I'm learning as we grow. And I would dare say we all are learning on some degree. Pressing pause reminds your emotions you're felt but not in control. That's good. Bring it, bruh. Absolutely. Don't let them, we like to say, don't let your feelings drive you.
Absolutely.
Don't let them drive you. So
because depending on the situation, they will definitely try and drive
Ooh.
you, especially if they have been driving you. And so I think that's the hard thing about pushing pause. You have to know yourself. There's something in it about knowing yourself and being open. When I was reading the devotional, that's what I thought in your intro about the guy you were just telling us about. He's going into the situation like he knows.
Right.
And it's divine what he knows about these feelings. But these feelings are pulling him. And so oftentimes we create the habit of letting our feelings pull us as opposed to acknowledging them, because this is how I feel. And talking about just in this pandemic, things as basic as being accustomed to hugging people and having to push pause.
Yeah.
Oh no, we can't do that right now, but there's still a love. The pause doesn't mean I don't love you. The pause means I have to, in that situation, I have to regroup, pull on my new knowledge to keep us both safe, and then move on in that way.
Yeah, so good. And I don't go into it in the devotional, but as a client, what we unearthed was because there were triggers of things that had happened in his past. And I think many of us can relate to that. When you've had things that happen, anything that kind of looks like it, smells like it, seems like it, is probably it. So I'm going to respond in a certain kind of way. I go on to say that most of us have said something that we wish we could take back. Ooh, guilty.
Absolutely. I don't know who isn't guilty.
Guilty. But if we have pushed pause to think about it first, we probably would have acted differently. Taking time to focus on a decision or action and exploring how we feel about it increases our ability to think it through and prepare ourselves to handle its impact. Now, see, that's the thing that I don't think we often think about. We gonna do whatever it is, push the button, pull the trigger, but we haven't thought about the impact.
Absolutely.
For every action, there is a reaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You better come on and be honest. And you know you're not the only one, Monique.
Definitely not the only one, Monique.
Definitely not the only one. So there's always an impact. Now, here's what I think is interesting. Scientific studies tell us that all of that stuff goes out the window when you're talking about teenagers. And I think this is great for parents who are doing that crisis homeschooling right now.
It's definitely crisis homeschooling.
Because we're trying to figure. I know, and I love. I got that from you. We like to think that our teens, like, why aren't you pressing pause? Why are you acting so impulsively? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You know, wisdom. I've taught you better. I've taught you this. You've learned this. I learned that. But scientific studies say that thinking through the consequences of one's action is harder for teens because of the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until about age 25. And that should explain a lot for all y'all mamas and daddies at home right now.
And I think that means, though, that we still don't completely let them off the hook, but it brings a new understanding as to why. But then you use those as teachable moments to build on. When this happens, notice your reaction and then notice what you got from that reaction. Absolutely. And then let's work it back. Now, my question becomes, that's for 25 and under. Can we talk about
26
what's going on with 26 and up?
Right.
And I'm real clear that you still have to, like you said, it's a muscle you have to work. And so if you have not been taught certain things, if you have not been exposed to certain things, then that 25 and up or 26 and up kind of goes out the door because you just don't have the tools.
Yeah.
And it's okay when you don't have the tools, but when tools are being offered.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to be willing to engage in such a way that you don't see pausing as a weakness. And I think that's really a lot of what it boils down to. It seems like we live in a society where, of course, nobody wants to be weak. Right. But we all have weaknesses, and we know that. And so finding a way to pull out the strength, how strong you must be in order to push pause.
I agree. And I'm sure, well, we'll save that for a whole nother devotional, but I would love, wouldn't it be cool to do a roundup with parents just about their experiences during this COVID era?
Absolutely.
And maybe some of these topics. Let's write that down. Mark it.
Got it.
We're going to do it. I love it. Okay. So psychologists support pressing pause and say that it's the best strategy to increase our productivity. According to psychologist Phil Race, the act of reflecting is one that causes us to make sense of what we've learned, why we've learned it, and how that particular increment of learning took place. Moreover, reflection is about linking one increment of learning to a wider perspective of learning, heading towards seeing the big picture. Now, the reason that I use that in particular is because the devotional that precedes this in the book is the power of small wins. And we talk about the incremental steps and not despising the day of small beginnings, where instead of being like, I got to make these big boss babe moves, I got to make these big boss man leaps. No, if you just make sustainable, quality, done in excellence, little incremental moves, it will move you somewhere. It will take you somewhere. And that's the same thing here with our learning. Like incremental learning, when you press pause, it gives you a moment. First of all your fight and flight hormones will shut down. You give them a chance to just kind of calm down, because you're not thinking and hearing and seeing clearly. There's been, y'all in the comments, let me know if this has ever happened to you. Let us know, because I mean, maybe it's just us. But there's been times when you've been in conversations, right? You've been in conversations or situations where something's happened, and then the person says, well, I said da-da-da, and you didn't hear it, or you missed the finer detail simply because you were here. You can miss it. If that's ever happened to you, throw us up some emojis, throw us up some stuff. And so pressing pause is not only about the psychological action, it's also about what it offers you from a physiological standpoint. It allows your body to catch up with the emotion. The emotions, all your emotions are tied to hormones and things, right? I see your hearts over here. I see your hearts going up. But it's also what you're trying to do simply is get your mind, your body, and your spirit back in alignment. You're trying to get your mind, your mind, your mouth, your body.
Bring it into alignment.
Alignment.
But I think so many people have been living out of alignment that I'm not sure people know what it feels like anymore, until we got to this point where you had to push pause. That people knew, I think when people go to their jobs, some people in their homes, even at church and different places, organizations you're in, people are always waiting for someone to come for them, or for them to have an answer and to always be right, or to always be on. And so you didn't know what it felt like to come together.
Yeah.
To pause. And now that's the feeling that people are like, oh, what is this? Oh, this is what it feels like to rest. I didn't know this feeling, or it's been so long since I felt this way that I didn't know that I was over the top in my whole life, Right.
And Pastor Stephanie, you see her, she said, amen to all of that. Amen to all of that.
All of that. I think the other thing is, I think I just lost my thought, but it's going to come back.
See, I had to sip my tea to get mine back.
Is that what it is? Let me get some water there. It was something that you said that had me, but it'll come back.
Okay, no worries. Well, whether we're pressing pause to keep from going off on somebody, or pressing pause as an opportunity to recharge, energize, and renew our minds and our bodies and spirits, we have to be intentional about creating these micro bubbles of time and space for ourselves.
I like that.
So important.
I love that. The microbubble, creating it for yourself. I love that.
Because it's a protective space. It's the sanctity of that inner court place where you and God get to just he let him love on you, you rest in him, and you just kind of bring it back into alignment. The thing I love that about what you said is people don't know they're out of alignment, so that becomes their new norm. They don't know any better, right? And so often, if we would just take a moment to step back into that micro bubble and just be, God will speak to us like, that's not really right where you need to be. But we can't hear because we stay pressed up against all the hard emotions. We stay in the middle of all the mess and we don't give ourselves time to step back. Yeah,
absolutely. I remembered what it was, and it's connected to that. We have to start talking about our small wins. I think people are missing that part because they only see the finished product so many times. And so you see the person on TV, but you don't see that they used to sleep in their car. Because they had the small win was getting a small part and a small part in a small play before they got this or that. And so you see the person with the big church, but you don't see the small wins along the way that they did what they were supposed to do. You see people on jobs or various things, and you just see the finished, but you don't see. And some of that is because we didn't get to see them celebrate the small wins.
And you know what I love about that? And that was our devotional topic yesterday. And I know you know that, but for some reason, people feel there's shame in showing the process. They rather hold it. Now, sometimes it's just because you're not in the spotlight until you make the big leap, until the big thing happens. But sometimes I've found that there are people that they don't want to share the this part or the that part or the this part. And I remember when I wrote my other book, Navigating the Path to Your Life Purpose, From Dream to Reality, I put a very transparent piece in there about how I had been an Emmy Award winning journalist. I had been an entertainment host and doing all this stuff. And right now I'm working in a small church doing this, doing that, doing that. And I was very fine and at peace with it because I knew that that's where God had called me to do some healing, because I had gone through some stuff where I needed a safe place to be buried and to be healed. But just printing that was my way of trying to share with people that the path of purpose has many roads, right? And for me, that was a press pause moment in life because, as you know, I had an opportunity extended to me to go back into news at that time. And I chose to press pause on that to stay where God called me. And so press pause can be a lot of things in life,
especially concerning purpose. That's so important. That's why it's important to know purpose, because then you can work in many different arenas because you're still working on purpose. It's not about the job or position, but society and people within society will have you believing that it's about the job, that it's about who you know, only those things. And that's when you have to be able to push pause and go check back into purpose.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to get off track listening to what other people have for you versus what God has called you to.
Come on, Reverend Riri.
Oh, Reverend Riri. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Somebody dangles something that seems to be better.
Yeah.
But it's out of your purpose, but you didn't push pause. And so then out of purpose.
There you go. We live in a world where most things seem to be on a nonstop loop. I see your hearts on Periscope. Thank you, love. We live in a world where things seem to be on a nonstop loop. Saying yes to everything is celebrated, maybe even rewarded. And I feel like as women,
we got it bad.
We got it bad. We don't know how to say anything but yes. Hey, Miss Rhonda. She said,
hey, huh?
X.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all, Reverend Rhonda will be with us too. So look forward to that at a later date. But yeah, absolutely. Marilyn says you have to have a relationship with God to hear him when he speaks to you. The spirit of truth will teach you if you listen. Absolutely. Let's go back to this. I don't want to I don't want to blow past this point though, that the world, this nonstop loop of saying yes, this nonstop loop of being the superwoman, this nonstop loop of feeling like I got to meet every need all the time in every way. Because if I don't, something to, and let me throw this out here. Now, y'all, you can clap back. I welcome your input. I feel like, wait, let me get Savalas's comment in here before I get on my thing. Give us a Selah. Yes. And his word is a gift of both reflective. Absolutely. God gave us that. We don't often take it, but you are so right, brother. I feel like we as women, the womanhood, the sistership, we don't help each other in this area. I don't feel like we help each other all the time in this area because the truth is we did girl take the help 2 days back. Okay. That's another form of pressing pause. Pressing pause to say, I can't do all this by myself. I need help and receiving help. But I also feel like if we could get more transparent about where we are in things, it would also allow our sister to be more authentically represented and share exactly where she is. Meaning this, if I don't pretend like I got all my ish all together all the time, then that takes the pressure off of you of having to pretend like you got your stuff together all the time. If in our conversations we say, girl, how you doing? And I don't give you, oh girl, well, first I did this, I did that. And you might have done all that. But if I texture it with, and whew, I'm tired. Or, not about being a complainer, but just more fully representing what the experience was, or might be, helps other women go. Because what we do is we compare and compete. So we think if Reverend Riri can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, never let a man forget he's a man, do homeschooling in crisis COVID situation, get up and preach, do communion service, do this, and she's just like glowing and glistening, and there's no price, or she doesn't feel it, then we think something must be wrong with me because how come I can't do it like she's doing it at that level?
And I think part of the pressing pause for me is when people have perceptions like that, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about.
You're good about that. Mm-hmm.
And being able to say that. But that goes back to being okay with who you are and implementing what you've learned along the way, regardless of the circles that you may be in. I had a mentor, sister, mother, all those things wrapped up in one, call the other day to check on us. And I said I was going to do something as far as checking on someone else. And she quickly said, no, that's not what you're going to do. And I was like, yes, ma'am, you're right. That's what I'm not going to do. And it was that sister mother in her saying, no, that you need to push pause because that's not a wise thing. But I was able to hear it and receive it. And she was right. And that's the thing. You said we compete, not we, but so many women.
Women in general.
And that's it. And part of that is because instead of working in abundance and believing there's enough for everybody, people are afraid to push pause because of what might pass them by. And it's like, if it passes you by and you were just literally pushing pause to hear from God, check yourself to make sure it's in the flow, it wasn't for you. At least it wasn't for you at this time. But we have to be okay with believing that God's going to supply.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tamara says it's very hard for women to be transparent because truth be told, there's a spirit of jealousy and envy.
My. And I think that is true for many. But my question then becomes, how do we start to build communities where that's not the case?
Yeah.
And are we willing to be intentional, push pause on that circle and look for your tribe, as you would say, your people who that's not the case?
I mean, and honestly, the work that Reverend Riri and I do together with the women's release experience is really about that. It's really about building that community. Oh, I have to pause and say hi to my mentor. Hey, Miss Magali. She's my
Hi.
coaching mentor. And she's going to be
I've
on.
heard so much about you.
I know she's a big, I have to connect you too. She's a big ball of love. I'm so glad to see you popping in. Thank you for supporting. That's why we do the women's release experience. And Magali, it is through strategic intervention coaching matched with spiritual techniques and wisdom and understanding that we build out an experience for women to tear down those walls, the walls that we create within ourselves, the walls we create against between us and other women, the walls that we put up against between us and God, so that we are such powerful beings as women. We're so powerful, but we often turn that power internally inside ourselves. And so that what could be productive has now become destructive. And that's the thing that we got to break down. Monique says, I also think that people don't realize that jealousy isn't a bad thing. It's your mind revealing to you what you want. And instead of feeling jealous, ask the person how they got there and then try to learn from them. That's good. That's good.
I think that's part of it, but I think part of jealousy also has to do with where you really feel deficient within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes people won't ask, because they feel like for whatever reason, they shouldn't have that. Right. It's really a block within self. I so agree with that though. Push pause on the jealousy.
Push pause on the
jealousy.
jealousy.
You know that it's there and engage the person and say, that's a great tool right there. Absolutely. Engage the person and say, how did you do what you did? How did you get there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we all have enough light on the planet. God has a spotlight for everybody. We don't have to fight for the light. It's not the small little circle that only one or two people can stand in. God has enough light for all of us. And that's what we're trying to get to, is helping women share the light. Yes, yes. When us women submit ourselves and say that we need help emotionally, mentally, and so forth. Absolutely. And here's the truth. We all will at some time need little help. That's just being human.
And everybody already, well, most people know that already. That's my thing. Y'all, do y'all really think that we think you're doing this by yourself? Like, let that go, because everybody needs help. If we didn't need help, God would have created one person and that would have been it.
Speak.
Because you could do it all by yourself. It's like even in church, when people try and do things by themselves, church wasn't created. The people called church were not created to be alone. We are supposed to help one another.
I love this follow-up. Yes, absolutely. You're not realizing that what you see in them is actually in yourself. Isn't that the truth? We don't even realize what we have in our own toolbox, but we may sense it. But because we see somebody maybe further down the path in it or further developed in a thing, then we get, like you said, jealous, or we get, our insecurities rise up. And Vicky, good morning. I'm glad you're loving the discussion. Isn't this fabulous? Reverend Riri is on fire today, y'all. She is on fire today with our discussion. So going back to the action journal, the other truth is pushing pause is also an outward sign of a believer operating in one of the fruits of the Spirit.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. It's all about that temperance, y'all. The word temperance literally means self-control. Literally means self-control. We can all enjoy more of life's rewards that come with the high levels of self-control. And if that's been something that you've struggled with, I'm not mean that it takes you over, but if that's something that you all feel comfortable sharing, just type into the comments, what's the one area where you know you need more strength, more development, more prayer, more everything to help you press pause. Go ahead and list that area. And I'm going to, as we continue talking, Reverend Riri, we're going to give you some work it out things to remember. We're going to talk about 10 tools that are in the book to help you in this area of press pause. But first, we want to just look at and kind of just get a gauge of where you are. And while you all are doing that, I'm gonna give you some time to type. I want to go around and say thank you to everybody. We've got people watching on various Facebook pages. Thank you to those of you who joined and shared. Thank you to those of you. I see you on my personal page. I see you on the Women's Release Experience page. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I see you on Periscope and I see you on YouTube. We are so happy to have you with us. Means a lot. I see some other fabulous women. Pastor, I see Reverend Angie. I see you. I see you. I see you on other pages. Trey Murphy, Evelyn, I see you. Oh, Reverend C, thank you for sharing the video. Love, love, love you. Appreciate you so much. Pastor Stephanie, thank you so much. I see you. Danita Moss, see you. Rev, Rhonda, good to have you come through. Looking forward to sharing the word with you too.
See Sister D. Conley. Thank you.
Shout them out. Shout them out as you see. I know you posted on your page too. So
see Reverend Castine. See
yeah, we see him. Reverend Castine will be sharing with us at a later date too. So fabulous, powerful women coming together, y'all. Monique says she's a little confused on the question, but she's working on pressing pause when triggered in relationship. Monique, can you say, like, are you talking about like friendship relationships? Or are you talking about spousal relationship? Just curious. And if you don't want to say, you absolutely do not have to say it. Just interested in what areas people need help pressing pause. Reverend Stephanie said, great work and discussion. Yes, yes. Well, looking forward to when you're coming forward with your discussion too later. Monique says in marriage, you are not alone. You are not alone.
We're always works in progress.
And I know you can speak to that. I know you can speak to about the importance of developing that method and muscle of pressing pause in marriage, Reverend Riri.
It has so much to do with self-discipline, self-control, self-discipline, which we know is a fruit of the spirit. And so that being the case, we have to allow God to develop that in us. Oh my, oh my. And it happens every day and sometimes can catch you off guard. Just when you think you've mastered certain things, something else rises up and you have to know. Sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about when you say it.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even about when you say it, it's about how you say it. All of that has to do with pressing pause until you get to a point where, because if I say anytime something is raging in me, be it in a friendship, with my husband, with my children, or just in a situation, I know automatically that's a time to push pause.
Yeah.
And I know you may not be talking about anything raging inside of you, but most things rage because they've been there unsaid for a long time. So pressing pause long enough to know when to have the conversation. Yeah. Knowing if you need to get some more tools to have the conversation, if you keep having the conversation and it's not working. Pressing pause comes in so many varied parts of our lives.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so what I would say is the tools. How do you recommend people get tools for that area? How do you build that muscle?
I think part of it is finding people to ask the questions. We don't have all the answers. Just like Jeanette, you started out by saying you're learning about Jeanette in a pandemic. You haven't lived through a pandemic before. If you've not been married before, even if you have been married before, if you were married before, that means you might not have been married to that person.
Right. Right.
And even when you've been married to the same person, people grow. At least we hope they do.
Yes.
And so as you grow and as I grow, we still have to learn each other. So part of it is conversation with your partner. Part of it is conversation with people who are outside of the relationship. They may not need to know everything, but people you trust who have a vested interest in you doing well.
Yeah.
Read.
Yeah.
If you're able. If not, Google. But Google the right sites. Ask people who they're talking to, people who are in healthy relationships. And the bottom line is we only know what people tell us. So not putting all your eggs in anybody's one basket, right? Because everybody's relationships are constantly evolving. And people who were on top of their game in relationships last year, you don't know what that's going to be next year. So just pushing pause long enough to know where to find your answer. Like that's a whole nother thing. All of these things require us to push pause.
Yeah. Yeah. And Monique, because we've worked with you, that's a conversation that we can also have offline, because I think we probably know a couple of sources where you could ask some questions. She says she knows that she's being triggered daily. It just gets tough when she's triggered on things that she's working on consciously. I just need to open up more around those topics with him. And I would say that that's true, not only in marriage, but any relationship, in a sistership relationship, in any kind of relationship. We all are human, so we're all going to have certain triggers and things, right?
But you can expect it there.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing about pressing pause. Knowing that if you're working on something, especially, I'm going to speak from being a Christian because that's what I am. So I know when I'm being called to work on something, especially as I'm winning, like as I get a small victory, I know I'm going to be tested on that. So I believe we're always tested on the new information that we've gained. And so we should be looking for that, like look for it. And that way it's not catching you off guard. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pastor Stephanie says, check out to check in. Hey, how about it? So we're going to share now. These are 10 tools in the action journal. I always share with you all work it out steps. They're either tips or they're either exercises, everything based in the word and positive psychology to kind of help us try to get the best out of the situation. So the number one thing to remember I have is being thoughtful and proactive is more powerful than being reactionary and out of control. It's more powerful and it takes more power. It really takes less energy to just, because that is the release in the wrong direction. It actually takes more energy when you have all that bubbling and burning and to just pull it back and be thoughtful and proactive. And remember what we said about think about the impact. Thinking about the impact of that thing. All right. Anything you want to say about that one, or we can keep going? You just jump in. Okay. And number 2, our base level selves usually show up first through our fight and flight response tendencies. That's what you need to know.
Absolutely.
You feel that thing strongly, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing. It just means it's the most weighty one right now.
Yes. And I think when I was looking at that, I put in my notes, so give your base level a chance to stop, look, and listen.
Ooh.
Right? Because it's at that base where everything is. And so if you could just push pause for a minute, sometimes even in the midst of a conversation, you have to be okay with saying, I'm not ready to talk about that right now.
Hey,
can we give that a minute?
Let's do this. Let's role play. I just had that thought because we can say that, but I don't know if people really know what that looks like. Like I have people all the time, and you probably have this too. People will say, that sounds good. Like when we do live class or when we do conferences and things, people will say, that sounds good, but I don't think I have that tool. Like, I don't know. And here's what I know. You probably do. It's like that muscle thing. You probably have the muscle. You just haven't used it. It's atrophied and you need to build it up so that you can use it. So let's just role play just for fun. We hadn't even talked about doing this, y'all. So who knows what it's about to be, but let's just role play. And I'll come at you and you show what in that situation a pressing pause moment might look like. And you might have 3 or 4 different iterations that you want to share, but let's do that. It's Sheri. Listen, I'm really upset with you because I didn't appreciate how you kept talking over me. And I was really trying to get my point across, and it made me really mad. And I'm starting to think that you don't respect me, and I'm gonna need you to just, I don't know what's going on with you. You might have some other stuff going on with you, but I'm gonna really need you to be more present and think about me, because I'm not feeling how that thing is going down.
I'm sorry you feel that way. At what point did I do that? Because I didn't realize that I was talking over you. Can you share with me when you felt that way? What I said, what I did?
So I did the fingers because number one, she said, I apologize that you feel that way. What you don't want to do is inflame the person. You want to acknowledge their feeling. Remember, in the very, very beginning of all this, we talked about the ways that we carry what we feel. And we said part of the release process, let me move this banner. Part of the release process is that we're all going to feel something. Now, what that is, we don't know until we face it and focus on it. So you don't want to invalidate someone's experience by going, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
What you talking about? I didn't do blah, 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 blah. That's not what we're trying to do. What
or even that I didn't intend for.
Right.
So it expresses what wasn't your intent, but acknowledges that you heard how they feel.
So I apologize.
And at the same time, I'm not taking responsibility for that yet, because I don't yet know if this is something going on in you or if I actually did it. Now, if I actually did it, then I'm going to really make an apology for it.
And so I think that actually there's some women who have issue even saying that part. I apologize you feel that way, because in some ways it makes them feel like I am taking ownership of this, or it makes me seem weak. And you're not taking ownership of the whole thing.
And I really don't want anyone, like, I don't want people, my heart of hearts does not want people to come in contact with me and leave not feeling good.
Right. And
or not feeling fulfilled in purpose or something, that's good for them.
And what I hear you saying there is lead with love.
Absolutely.
Lead with love. Because if this is, we understand there's different situations. This could be a work thing. It could be a relationship thing. It could be a marriage thing. But even at the base level, we're called to give the Christ level, love your brothers and sisters, right? Love your neighbors as you love it. And it didn't say if you like them or not. It just said love them.
Because we may never have dinner together.
Right. Huh?
But
right.
I don't know what lies ahead. And so, one, I don't want to leave you not well. And two, no need to burn bridges, not knowing what God has in store for you later.
That's so good. Hey, Dwight, good to see you, brother. From the ATL showing up. Good. I'm glad that resonated with you. That is the thing. Oh, gosh, there's so much good stuff in here, Reverend Riri. Because I think that's the other thing we do as women. We encounter each other and we damage each other even more because we don't practice the tools or use the tools to help each other out. So yes, check yourself. She said, I apologize first. She basically said, I see you. I see you. I'm here with you. I'm willing to engage you and to see what this is about. She didn't take it personally, as if I did something wrong. She's like, let me investigate this further. And then she asked a clarifying question. Can you give me an example of what I did that made you feel that way? Right? And then the clarifying question, what you may help, and I don't know that if we always think this out. The clarifying question is to help you get information, but it's also to help the other person press pause and think.
And hear themselves. Did you just hear what you said? And I've actually said to people, okay, I will repeat back to you what you just said to me, because I need you to hear, especially, I'm clear you haven't pushed pause yet because you're coming at me going off.
Right.
What happened? So something in you is going. So I just need you to come on. Let's listen.
Breathe. Let it breathe. And the funny thing is, the pressing pause actually, for her or for us when we're in those situations, the press pause starts when all that energy comes at you. because I know I'm very sensitive to energy, and I have to work to not meet people with the same amount of energy, because I, as an empath, like if you come at me with rah, I'm going to be like, huh? so I have to press pause to even hear you. And I know that about me. I accept that about me. Listen, the gifts of the Spirit have a yin and yang side of them. The good thing is it allows me to feel all that you're feeling. The downside can be it allows me to feel all that you're feeling. And so when you come with the rah, and then I feel like, so the press pause is pause, and then that initial, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Let's talk about this. Let's see where we are in this. Tamara says, absolutely. However, if everyone, no matter their titles or financial status, to treat everyone with kindness. But here's the thing, Tamara, this is what we're saying. People's is people's. So it's not a title that's going to give you character. It's not a financial status that's going to give you character. It's not. And let me say this. There are people with good character that have bad days. They just have bad days. Or bad.
And sometimes we're going to have to work with people whose character is not what we would choose to live with or be in relationship with on a regular, but I have to work with you. And so how is it? I was on Pastor Willie last night, made the statement, no one has more jurisdiction over you than you.
Absolutely.
And so part of the pushing pause is because we do have to work with people who don't care about how we feel, who don't care about certain things that we hold dear. And so I have to push pause so I don't come out of myself.
Yes.
I could be the person I've been called to be and working that way.
Yes, 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 yes. For those of you who don't know the yes, yes is what we use in our live events. And you'll see women posting it. And even I've seen my fellows posting it. You'll see yes, yes. The first yes is for you. Yes, I agree with that sentiment. It resonates with me. The second yes is so that the sisters around you or the people around you can hear it. Because sometimes there's a yes in my spirit, but I won't release it because I might feel like I'm all by myself. But if the yes, yes means yes. And yes for you too.
Yeah.
And I want to also add, Tamara, and feel absolutely free to chime on this, Reverend. You will set yourself up for grave disappointment if you continue. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but for anybody that just kind of reads that, if this hits anybody out there, if you continue to wait for the change to come from the other side, you'll always be disappointed. You'll always get your feelings hurt. Because, as Reverend Reed just said, you have no jurisdiction with how they act, what they think, what they believe, or even hear what their experiences have been in life that have led them to be this way.
Yeah.
If we could pull back the layers, you might find some things that people have endured that would just horrify you. And for that reason, they have built up this facade and this armor-esque type persona to protect them from being hurt, from being run over or whatever. And so because we don't have the benefit of all that knowledge, just know, Tamara, that you can't wait on people, no matter their title or status, to do the right thing. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yes, yes.
Do what's right because it's right, and do it right.
It's always the right time to do the right thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that share, Tamara. That's
absolutely. Thank you.
Monique says same. Yeah. I mean, we all get in that boat. We all do. Pastor Stephanie says, right. Find inner peace so that you can deal with difficult people and situations. You have to. The enemy wants to steal your joy and your peace and run you out your mind.
So can I also say real quick that just because you push pause doesn't mean that you won't have to have the hard conversation.
Yes.
Pause is not to keep us from engaging what we have to engage. Sometimes I push pause to hear. And then if you keep coming at me a certain way, I will have to shut you down. But I am very clear in my shutting down of what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, what I'm doing, what the repercussions could be. Because you're not just going to talk to me any kind of way, and we have a working relationship, be it any kind of relationship that's ongoing. And so I just want to make that clear that we're not that pushing pause means that we're just taking on all your stuff.
Right.
No, no, no. Sometimes I have to tell people, I'm sorry. We must not be ready to have this conversation when you have calmed down or when you're in a different space and you want to talk this out without yelling, because I don't allow people to yell at me. No, that's not, I didn't grow up that way. So I didn't grow up being yelled at. And so you want to shut me down? Yell, and that will be the end of this conversation until you're ready to come back where we can both hear and talk. And so that doesn't mean I'm not angry, but I have learned and worked that muscle enough to be able to have conversations when I am angry and still be able to be who I'm called to be.
Yeah.
When I know that things are coming out of my mouth or face that would not glorify God, and I wouldn't say in front of my mother.
Right.
That's when I know, push pause, Sheri, you're not ready for the conversation.
Yeah. But did you even see her body language? She said push pause. So even when you say, I'm sorry, we're not ready to have the conversation, that's pushing pause. Pushing pause comes in many different forms. Yeah. I knew number 2 was going to get us because that base level thing is just real. It's just where we are. Number 3 is there's always a 50-50 chance that your perception about what's happening is off or distorted through your own filters. And I think that's something that we have to take into consideration. We always feel like because it's so real to me, because it's so deeply felt in my spirit and my soul, that I must be right about this. But there's a 50-50 chance you off, right? And it happens. We all miss it sometimes. The character in us then says, you know what? I missed it. I missed that one. I missed that one.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I mean, this could go to I've been in situations where it was a 50-50. I missed part of it and you missed part of it. I can't, back to you, Tamara, I can't make them assume responsibility for their 50. I can only, because here's what I want. I want when I go home at night to lay down in my bed and have sweet sleep and peace. So whether they do or not, I take my 50. I'm going to own my 50 and trust God to work the rest of it out.
Absolutely.
That's all you can do. All you can do. Number 4, reacting before thinking leads to having to clean up more messes than most of us want to have to endure. I don't like cleaning up messes. I'll do it. I'll own a thing. But man, it never feels good.
I think that's when we actually feel weak.
Mm-hmm.
Having to clean up the mess because of we got out the gate too quick in our response. And I think we take that part of the experience, attach it to other experiences going forward. And instead of saying, oh, but if I wouldn't have come out the gate so quickly on that, maybe I wouldn't have all this to clean up, and taking the thing of slow down, push pause, we just say, oh, I'm not going to do it.
And to that point, I had a client once who actually developed a very good muscle with cleaning up messes because they used to not be able to own a thing, but then they got pretty good at cleaning up the mess. And so it was almost like we ran past the pushing pause because I know I can always clean it up later. Right. But again, we're causing more damage. You don't want to cause more pain. You don't want to cause more injury to yourself or to others. So pushing pause helps you maybe avert some of that.
Yeah, because life is already messy and people already have the things that they've gone through. And so while we may be able to clean it up, we may miss where the relationship could have gone because now there's a trust issue.
Absolutely.
And now we got to work through that too.
Absolutely. Number 5, pushing pause gives you time to slow your brain down and engage more senses on your behalf, including discernment. What is the Spirit speaking to you about this situation? Because I've had those instances too, and I know you have too, Reverend Riri, where God will speak something, a word of knowledge or understanding that gives you more insight about what's really happening. So you have more of a 3D understanding about what you're really dealing with and what's really happening.
And which is why it's important that we push pause on a regular basis to commune with God, because God will give us some information ahead of time if we'll push pause to listen.
Absolutely, because God is love. So God's heart is for reconciliation and for us to build our relationships, iron sharpens iron. It's not that we won't ever have these misunderstandings or that we won't ever bump heads, but it's about what comes up after that. Now, I will say, I've had situations where I've bumped head with people and different things have happened, and we've actually come out stronger because of it, because there's been a deeper level of understanding. The person and I, because we worked at it, I said, that person cares enough to work at this. I can trust that. I can, there's something in that means something to the matter, right? And
that's part of relationship.
Yeah, you come out of it building something even better than you had before. Number 6 is we better model love and character through our initial responses, through taking ownership over mistakes and mishaps is also a valuable witness. You model love and character through your initial response. How you come out the gate. It's almost like that client I was talking about. Yeah, you can come back and take ownership over it, and you can also, clean it up. And that is a valuable witness as well, because people will have respect for you if you will come back and go, you know what? I missed that one. Sorry, I was off. They will respect you for that, because unfortunately in society, not many people do that. They just kind of brush it away and wait for the next thing to come up, and we just kind of pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But if you can lead with love, man, that's a powerful witness.
Which is why I start by trying to ask people, the way I responded in our role play, I think releases people to know you can come to me and we can have a conversation. Now we might have to talk about how we're going to have the conversation, but because there's love there.
Right.
And I've been the recipient of grace and mercy before. So I'm willing to offer grace and mercy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So number 7, our need to be right can lead to being right, but handling it wrong. Ooh, that one. Yes, yes.
Sometimes it can be most important to be right.
I think there's a whole book on that. We talked about do what's right because it's right and doing it right. And sometimes we fall through the crack because we are right about something. We are right about it.
And we're happy we won. We're right.
We write about it. But then what you do out of that rightness makes it all wrong. Rev Rhonda says leading with love is paramount. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just that muscle we got to keep on building.
It takes work.
Huh?
It takes work.
Ooh, it takes work. What would you say? What you said for all of us, trust.
Absolutely.
Number 8, living in a war-ready state is tiring and stressful. Let your defenses and your guard down. Stop expecting people to wrong you. Stop expecting to have to do battle. Take your hand off the kill button. Now, this is for people like my client that I mentioned in the devotional, who I nicknamed Tom, who was a hothead, who, as we said later, I discovered that he had some underlying things going on that caused him to be that way. But nonetheless, he still left a trail of carnage in his path and his wake, because he had his hand on the kill button every time. It was a protective measure, but that's so stressful. It's so stressful. It's so stressful. And for those of you, let me speak to this. I also had a client who was from Jersey. You'll love this because I know you lived in Jersey for some time. But she would say, this is just my family. This is just the way I am. This is how we are. We were made like this. This is how I am. The chip on the shoulder, that's how we are. Like, but when you're born again, you become a new creation in Christ. So you can give up the chip. You can take the chip off and put it at the altar. You don't have to be a certain way. Life may have developed you into a certain way, given you calluses, given you sore spots, given you rough edges, given you torn places, but you don't have to live that way and act out of that way.
And I think that's a big thing for me. So once you know that, if you can articulate that my whole family's this way, this is the way I've been, then you've already identified an area where you need to push pause. And you need to seek a conversational partner that can help you articulate for yourself, why is your hand always on the kill button? Why are you even there? And to me, life continues to move on, but in that area, you push pause so you can do the work.
I was having a conversation in a group, and we were talking about ministry things. And one of the persons was advocating for someone who hadn't pushed pause on a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And just saying, well, it's just the community. You just got to understand this group of people. You just got to understand that. You just have to understand that. And what I thought in that moment was, wow, what a disservice we are doing to any group, any community, any whatever entity of members, when we won't say there's a more excellent way of doing this. There is a higher level of Christian living or godly living that we do, that we can handle this in. And it made me think, we have work to do.
So much.
We have work to do. Lisa, Callie in the house.
West Coast.
What's up, West Coast? You better come on through in the morning. Number 9, pushing pause is not a sign of weakness. Period. The end.
It takes strength.
It takes more strength. We keep saying that today. It takes more strength to push pause than it does for you to just react. Throw it out there. Right? And the last one, number 10, love conquers all. Reverend Rhonda just alluded to this. It's paramount. Mm-hmm. Even tough love must be administered with wisdom, which often doesn't happen when we act first and think secondly. Love conquers all. And love has many layers and textures. There is tough love. There is, romantic love. There's all kinds of different types of love, but love at the base level that says, I care as much about what you're experiencing in this as I care about what I'm experiencing this. Right. Yeah. And that, when we can get to that place, wow, a class.
I love that you are always there for a class. Yes, Sister Vonda.
She wants that life class. Come through. Tamara, yes, strength to restrain when people go low. Absolutely.
That's good.
Y'all, I hope that these tools that came out of the Release Action Journal have blessed you in some way. Please share this post. Now that you've seen it, I know y'all, sometimes you're like, well, let me see what y'all gonna be talking about. Let me see where it's gonna go before I tell my people. But now that you've seen the whole enchilada, you know that this is a tool that could help tons of women release anxiety, depression, all the root emotions that cause us not to press pause. And that's where we're going on this 21-day journey. That's the place we're headed, to where you can release it and let it go and see a better, more excellent part of you and be more connected to God in deeper ways. That is what this is about.
Yes.
Listen, Reverend Sheri has a church. They have a church. I got plenty I could do. We don't do this just for us. We love to share the word. We love to share information, but we do this for you because we know that if women ever came together in purest of hearts, my, what could we accomplish? Marilyn says, love in spite of. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we have to do. Great masterclass. All right, man. I'm so glad that you love it. Works for you, Fonda. Absolutely. But hey, don't be surprised if you see it show up in the life.
You already know.
In a life. Savalas, thank you, brother, for being a prayerful presence today. We are so glad for your input. We never kick the men out. We never gonna kick them. Now, there might be a time when we talk about something and I tell the men, you might not want to stay in. But, I can't make you go out. But we have enjoyed your inputs today. So thank you. What a beautiful session. And thank you to my sister.
Thank you.
Beautiful friend. The mother of my godchildren.
Let me also say to you real quick, Jeanette, that you are blessing people. So as long as God lays this on your heart, you keep pressing forward, knowing that you shall reap abundantly.
Oh, thank you, my sister. Love and appreciate you so much.
Love you too.
You all take good care. We love, 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 and appreciate you. Tomorrow, the topic is know where to draw the line. We're talking about boundaries.
My.
It'll be a powerful time. So we hope you join us then tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Everybody have a blessed and great day.